whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please take a seat. Could you introduce yourself to Judge Boyle?
Yes, sir. My name is Jonathan L. Evans, EVA&S. I've been a police officer for the Hill Police Department for approximately 9 years. Prior to that, spent almost 36 years in the military. I joined the Marine Corps in 1972. I've been in 2 other branches, the Army and the Air Force, as military police. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I was an infantry platoon sergeant. I retired from the federal government March 31st, and still continue working as a police officer for the town of Hill.
All right. I want to direct your attention, John, to 21st of May of last year. Do you recall where you were and who you were with?
Yes, I do, sir.
Could you explain to Judge Boyle what you were doing?
There was 4 police officers of the Road Dawgs. One of the 4 was myself, and we had a 5th civilian riding with us, a male civilian. We had at least 2 of our wives with us, and we were going on a charity run for Officer Briggs of the Manchester Police Department. It was his first year of the non-knights having the rally. And so we were going to that rally, meeting up prior to the actual start. Some of the other people informed us there was another club that there's a store down approximately a half a mile from where we were at, that he had recently been displaying this vest that belonged to the Road Dawgs.
Let me ask you about that.
Yes, sir.
Are you a member currently of the Road Dawgs?
No, no.
Once you terminated your membership, were you issued colors or vest with colors?
Correct.
And what is the, based on your knowledge, what is the requirement when you leave the Road Dawgs?
We have to sign a piece of paper that the collars are a part of the club, not yours as an individual. If you are with the club less than 10 years, you have to return the colors to the club.
Did you return your colors?
Yes, I did.
And on this particular day, the 21st of May last year, did you know about this pepper supply store?
I had no knowledge of it until we actually, that morning.
Did you know anything about a vest being in the store with the Road Dawgs colors?
No.
At some point near the end of the run, did you explain to Judge Boyle what happened when you were in the area of North State Street?
After the incident, or?
No, before.
Okay.
Before.
Before we started the run, we went to the shop. The shop was closed. We pulled right up in front. It was not open, so we made a decision. Our president, who was riding with us, Tony Time, there's like a military structure and of chain of command. Tony Time's our president. Lieutenant Gaglioli is our secretary. Gary Norton was our sergeant of arms. They made the decision we would come back at another time.
Do you have any? Are you in the hierarchy of the Road Dawgs, or are you just?
I'm not part of the E-board, but I am what they call the road boss, which has no voting power. Only on runs, I map out the course of the runs.
Okay. And on this particular day, you went to the shop and it was closed?
Correct.
At some point during the run or near the end of the run, did you go back to the shop?
We did, at the end of the run.
Okay. Could you describe and explain to Judge Boyle what occurred when you got to the parking lot?
Yes. We pulled into the parking lot of the place, and the lights were on, or we noticed that it was on, that it was open business, and we pulled in. We pulled in with our wives, broad daylight, parked right in front of the shop in his own parking lot as he testifies. And 4 of us, not 5. It was Road Dawg business, so only the Road Dawgs went inside. And I'd like to, if I could.
Sure. With the court's permission, if you could describe what happened.
Thank you, sir. As far as the schematics of the size and everything, he's within what I would say happened, the way it was. Doors here, the mannequins here. This is like a display case, which he was actually behind originally, Brian was. There's some aisles. It's full of clothing. It's not like a nice big open grocery store. It's tight. Tony Time walked in this way, and Lieutenant Gagnon was with him. Gary and myself walked over to the manikin. Brian sees us walk in, and his words to us is, "Can I help you? What's up?" No one said anything. Gary walks over to the mannequin, takes it off the mannequin. He didn't pull it, he didn't rip it, anything. He pulled it off. He said, "Yeah, it's our vest." That's all that was said. Now Brian comes out from behind the counter. He says, hey, what are you doing? Or words to that effect. Gary walks back over and says, "Yeah, it is our vest." And he says, hey, that's my vest, or words to that effect. That's when Gary says, "Look, screw this." He starts to go back and put it back on. He says, "Let's just charge him with receiving stolen property." He says, "Get the hell out, take it then, get the hell out of my store." Gary turns around, he's holding the vest, he says, "Look, I can cut the collars off, you can have the vest." He says, "No, just take it and get the hell out of the store." He says, "Well, why don't we pay you for the vest then?" He says, "You guys," and he uses the words, "fuck" and all this, "you're just a bunch of asshole state troopers, get the hell out of here." I'm assuming he thinks we're all state troopers. So Gary and I start walking back towards the door. I don't know what these two are doing at the moment. It becomes heated. Gary gives me the vest. I am the one that actually walked out with the vest. I walk out the vest.
Let me stop you there. Why did you walk out with the vest?
He told us to take it. He told us just get the hell out and take the vest and get the hell out of here. And he was cursing about us being state troopers. The words were saying, "You want some trooper condoms with it?" It was back and forth. That Tony and them, boys were being boys. Nothing like "I'll kick your ass." That hadn't happened yet. We get to the store. Everyone's outside the door. When I turn around, the reason why I have the vest and kept the vest was my bike has what's called a trunk on it. For easy explanation, it's a tour pack. So I could put the vest in it. I had the vest. Gary didn't have the vest. I was the one that had the vest. At the doorway, everyone's getting on their bikes but Tony and Brian. They're standing toe to toe. Who's got the bigger fist, basically? Y'all yakking back and forth. I have yet to speak to this guy. I walk over in between. I said, "Tony, I got this. Cool down." I look Brian in the eye and said, "Look, let's call it a day. You gave us the vest. We're not bringing the police in on this thing. Let's just call it a day." "You fucking state troopers." I said, "I'm not a state trooper. I'm a townie. I'm a local." He didn't direct anything bad towards me. He was pointing with one of his hands over me. "Well, the fucking state troopers didn't get the hell out of here. You're going to hear from me." And we left, basically. Back with Tim.
That morning or prior to going into the store, what did you believe? Who did you believe to be the owner of those collars or that vest?
That was our vest. That was our collars. I mean, once we saw the actual vest, the collars, it was ours. It was our club collars.
With respect, if Mr. Blackton had said, "Don't take the vest, leave the vest," would you have left the vest?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what action? Well, we never got that action. But was he told that it would be reported to the police?
The only thing that I remember was at one point Gary said, "Hey, if he, let's just call Concord PD or let's just charge him with receiving stolen property. The hell with it." And that's when he said, "Oh, just take it, get out of here."
Do you recall clearly that that there was an offer to cut the patches off?
Absolutely.
By Gary?
By Gary.
Okay. When that offer was made to Mr. Blackman, what did he say?
He said, I don't want the collar, get the hell out," or words to that effect. There was a lot of words thrown in there. But Gary offered to cut the collar. Gary offered to pay for the vest then. He said none of it. He was pissed at us being in there, I think. "Get the hell out. Take the vest, just get the hell out of my property."
If you were of the belief, John, that the vest did not belong to the Road Dawgs or that Mr. Blackman wanted to keep that vest, would you have left with the vest?
If it wasn't our property, if it wasn't our vest, we have no right to take it. If he adamantly said, "You can't take that, get the hell out, that's my property." That's when we gotta make a decision, call the police, Concord PD, or just leave. There was no physical contact, there was no pushing, there was none of that ever happened.
The yelling and the confrontation, did that occur later after the vest was outside?
The first thing that I heard was when Brian said, "Hey, whoa, wait a second." Once he realized our collars on, we were Road Dawgs. I think he realized we were there to to see if that was ours. And there was, like I said, words got. I remember either Tony Time or Brian said, "You want some trooper condoms with that?" You know, it was getting heated. It was escalating little by little. I didn't hear any personal, like you're an asshole or something like that at that moment.
Later on outside, did you?
There was words, but both people were saying it, so you know, it was just a heat along.
I'm not brother.
Neither you nor anyone else I was with called Concord police ahead of time and made a report that you thought that Blackman had stolen property.
Correct. There's a reason for that.
All right. No report at all ahead of time, right?
There's a reason for that. Correct.
In fact, you just said on cross that you or one of you said to Blackman, "We're not bringing the police in on this thing," right?
We didn't want to. Correct.
Right. You told him that. You just testified to that.
That's correct.
We're not bringing the police in on this.
There's no need to do it, or words to that effect.
And that's what you guys were thinking when you were there, right?
That's correct. There's a reason for that.
All right. And so it was after the fact that you decided to go to the Concord Police Department and turn in the vest. You had an, excuse my language, oh shit moment. What did we just do? Isn't that right?
I'm going to object to the compound nature of that question. It was 3 questions in one.
There's 3 questions in one. You can break it down if you want, but I think you already got the answer.
No, it wasn't after the fact. So, I guess you were lying to him when you said we're not going to bring the police in on this thing. Is that it?
No. There's a reason why we didn't want to involve the police.
You did not go straight to the Concord PD, even, did you? You went to the VFW.
Negative. Two of us went to Concord PD. 2 of us went to finish back at where the VFW was at. We went back there to still represent the club colors, and 2 of us went on to the Concord PD.
All right. Well, let's break it down. You came in the second group, so you must have finished the ride.
We all had finished the ride. After this incident, approximately half a mile down, we go, Jesus Christ, pretty upset about this. Tony Time, our president, said, well, myself, and I thought it was Lieutenant Gaglioli, said, we're going to go to Concord PD and explain what just happened, just so there's nothing that's blinds us on this. The other 2, myself, I thought it was Gary Norton, he could have been lieutenant, but I thought it was Gary. We went on back to the VFW because we're representing the club on this motorcycle ride. That's why you had the 2 and the 2.
Okay. 2 things. So you did, in fact, have an after the fact moment where you realized, oh my gosh, we better report this to the Concord PD.
It wasn't an oh my gosh, it was like we weren't happy with how things had transpired.
Right, but
I would agree with it.
Okay. It wasn't your original plan to go to the Concord PD.
Our original plan was not to involve the police for a reason, and I'd like to know the reason. Ask me.
I'm sure your attorney will get to that. You agree that there was all kinds of yelling going on.
Yes, sir.
And you agree Well, you say not three, but two were standing in the way of Mr. Blackton and Mr. Norton, who was taking the vest, right?
There was two that was walking towards Brian, and as Brian was coming out from behind the counter.
And Brian couldn't get around them, essentially.
I don't have the knowledge of that because they stopped when they were talking. I don't think Brian tried to push himself through, and I don't think they kept him and pushed him back.
He had a sling on his arm, right?
He did, yes, sir.
You wrote a written statement for the Concord Police Department?
It did, sir.
And approach. I'm showing you what's marked State's Exhibit 2. You recognize that?
It looks like my handwriting, yes.
Well, you recognize that as your statement that you wrote to them?
Yes.
All right. I want you, with the court's indulgence, to read that to yourself. Just read it to yourself. Not out loud, to yourself.
Yes, sir.
All right. What, if anything, in that statement is not accurate?
Well, I didn't include that I had drunk 2 Pepsis before I wrote the statement.
All right. What, if anything, in that statement is not accurate?
I think overall the content's there. I mean, it states that Gary gave me the vest,
All right.
and I carried it. I walked out with it.
Okay. So, again, what, if anything, in that written statement is not accurate?
I wouldn't stand by that. I wouldn't stand by this.
Okay, so it is accurate.
Yes. It's not detailed, but it's accurate.
Okay. With the court's permission, because it's handwritten, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. With the court's permission, I'd like the witness to read the statement.
Oh, you're out loud?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
Read your statement, please.
May I get my reading glasses?
Certainly.
On Saturday, May 21st, 2011, I was told that we, the Road Dawgs, were going to stop at a store that had one set of Road Dawg collars. We pulled into the parking lot of a small store in Concord, New Hampshire, and went inside. One person went over and picked up a black leather vest with the Road Dawg top, bottom rocker, and bulldog center patch on it. I was given the vest as a store employee walked towards us and said, "What's up?" All Road Dawgs said, "That's our vest." Words changed, and then he said, "Take it and get the hell out of here." I left and returned, hearing Gary say, "We could charge you with stolen property." Then Gary said, "Bullshit, whatever, take it and leave." Gary said, "We could cut the patch off and give back the vest." The guy said, "Get the hell out of here," or words to that effect. At one point, the guy and Tony stood at the door, and the guy was flipping the fingers and saying we were assholes and a bunch of pussies, and that he was going to kick our asses. I stepped between the two, and Tony turned around and left. I then asked him why he's so pissed off at us if he's trying to sell products to the police. I don't get it. The guy said, "I have a problem with these guys," pointing to Tony. He seemed to have cooled down and said, "Just leave," but then the asshole and pussy words started flying again, at which time I turned left. We stopped about a mile down the road, and somebody said, "Let's go check in, finish the ride, then we can take the colors over to the Concord PD."
Okay, thank you. So you said you were one of the ones that finished the ride, went to VFW, is that right?
We actually all finished the ride and then went there. But then 2 of us went to Concord PD and 2 of us went back to after the ride they have like a picnic celebration. And the 2 of us went to represent the Road Dawgs. And 2 others went to the Concord PD.
You had no idea whose vest that was, right?
Personally, sir,
Yeah.
individually, no.
None of you had any idea.
No, I think you're right. Maybe my president did, I couldn't speak for him.
But as far as you knew.
I personally didn't know, that's all I can testify to.
You said on direct, we made a decision. Before this incident, we made a decision, to quote, you recall saying that?
Well, actually, I had very little say in it because I'm just a trooper of it, but the 3 officers made the decision. I agreed with it.
Okay, you agreed with it. You agreed not
If I
to...
disagree with it, it wouldn't make any difference.
You agreed to leave the police out of it and to go and take it yourself.
No, no. That's not what I said.
All right, you said we made a decision. That decision was...
To go and investigate to see if it was our piece of property.
You just investigated.
We were seeing if it was our piece of property.
Okay, but you are not a Concord police officer and never have been.
That's correct.
None of the others are Concord police officers, never have been.
That's correct.
You didn't have any business, in short, investigating a potential crime in Concord, right?
I wasn't investigating a crime.
Oh.
I was going in to see if that belonged to us. I think as a person of the United States of America, I can do that. I didn't break any laws walking into the store, did I? I don't think so.
So you went in to investigate whether it belonged to you. So you were going to conclude it belonged to you on what basis?
See if it looked like a Road Dawg vest.
So only if it looked like a Road Dawg vest, that was the basis that you were going to investigate, and if it looked like a Road Dawg vest, you were going to take it.
That would have been a decision my officers would have made. When I say officers, the president, the secretary, the sergeant of arms.
But you said ahead of time you guys made a decision. And the decision was to go investigate.
The decision was to go in to see if it was a Road Dawg vest.
And if it was a Road Dawg vest, you were going to take it. No matter whose it was.
I didn't say that, did I?
I'm asking you right now, isn't that true?
I didn't say that.
I'm asking you right now, isn't that true? That's what you plan to do.
We would have to see. I don't know. I don't know what we would have done.
Well, you know what you did.
That's correct.
You
But
took it.
what we plan on doing, there was no plan like we're going to run in and grab it and take off. You're asking for that.
Four guys on motorcycles dressed up like some kind of, well, I'll say club, not gang, but you know, dressed up like a club or a gang. Go into a store and you would agree you guys were intimidating. Is that right?
Not at all.
You weren't intimidating at all. You roll into this guy's store in your Road Dawg vests. You start to take a vest off. 2 of you were standing in front of him, and there was no intent whatsoever to be intimidating.
No, I went in to see if it was a Road Dawg vest that belonged to the club.
You're telling the court that he said take it. Are you trying to say that's legitimate consent? When 4 guys roll in dressed like that, start threatening that you're going to charge somebody with stolen property, you trying to say that's legitimate consent?
What I said was, Gary said, the hell with it, or words to that effect. He's walking back to the mannequin to put it on the mannequin and say, let's just charge him with receiving stolen properties. That's not a threat. We're putting it back on. There's a reason why we didn't want to go that route.
So you didn't walk out of the store at that point. Instead, you took it.
No. That's not what happened. He then said, just take the vest, basically, and get out.
And what I'm asking you right now is, are you trying to say that, even if he said that, which he denies, but even if he said that, you're trying to say that's legitimate consent? 4 guys can roll up on a motorcycle?
I guess it's a legal conclusion. I couldn't ask for a legal conclusion of a witness. I don't think he can ask for a legal conclusion for this.
You want to speak?
You agree that Gary took it off the mannequin, you took it out of the store, right?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
Just briefly, John, much was asked about gangs, and are you a gang?
Negative.
You familiar with motorcycle gangs?
If you can ask my chief, I'm the expert in the area on motorcycle gangs.
Okay.
The 1%, the outlaw clubs.
You're familiar with outlaws?
Absolutely.
If, for example, the Hell's Angels were displayed upside down out in front of that store, based on your knowledge, you think some
I think
discussion?
Ryan would not be walking around today.
You said there was a reason for not involving the police.
Absolutely.
What was that?
The court system is overwhelmed with a lot of cases. This was a very, in our opinion, in my opinion, this is a very minor incident. For all we know, Brian could be completely innocent and just naive. Why do you want to immediately bring in law enforcement on something that can be handled, we thought, between 2 individuals? I didn't even know this man before this incident. I knew nothing about his history. I knew nothing about him. And in fact, I'm saying it's a pepper spray. I said, well, he must be a law enforcement, friendly guy. That's what my interpretation, as it was opening up. I make decisions daily, on a daily basis, on the side of the road, whether I have someone go in front of a judge in a court system, or whether I can handle things right then and there. That's being a police officer. That's part of your job. There's 9 out of 10 times you can handle things right then and there that are minor or that's not technically broken the law. And so in my opinion, we're trying to not put a blemish on someone's record. And I knew nothing about this guy. For all I know, he could be a great guy. I know nothing about him. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Hey, look, this is our piece of property. We just want it back. And basically, there were some knocks here and there, mentally, but overall, that's all we did. And we even offered to buy him, pay for the vest. We even offered to just cut the collars and let him have the vest. We're just trying to solve it without involving the legal part of the system. That's all we were doing.
Just very briefly, you said, quote, that's being a police officer. You were not, let's be clear, being a police officer that day. This was not your town, right?
I said, on a day-to-day basis on my job, being a police officer. That's what I said.
Right.
This incident had nothing to do with being a police officer, but it's your mentality, the way you think as a police officer.
All right.
The mentality was, I'm giving this guy a break. He may be completely innocent.
Well, giving this guy a break is what you do as a police officer when you're in your town and the guy, you stopped him because he was speeding, but you're going to give him a break and a warning, something like that.
But when you learn that, you carry that through life. I could have met someone down in Salem that needs a break on something, some issue. Maybe I saw someone take a candy bar, so I'm going to throw the 50 cents on the counter after he leaves. The court has better things to do than prosecute someone for a 50-cent candy bar.
All right, nothing further.
That's right.
Okay, next step, Counselor. First of all, is there any case from above from the state?
No.
All right.
Sorry.
Defense?
Your Honor, just by way of the factual issue of this case, the law with respect to mistake of fact is clear. And I've got copies of a number of cases that I have provided to the court, and I'll provide to the prosecution now. The case was very clear in a number of cases throughout the country and in New Hampshire. Mistake of fact, in essence, if I believe that, or if you believe, or the prosecutor believes, or anybody in this courtroom believes that their property is somewhere, the intent is to, if the intent is to commit a crime and to steal from someone, it's completely different than someone trying to recover their property. That, I think, is clearly the evidence that's before the court, is what the intent of, certainly John Evans was on that particular date, was to go in and, I'm not saying that the intent and the plan ended that way because it got hostile in the parking lot and things of that nature. But the mistake of fact law is very clear. And that's what we have here. The other issues, talking about the case in general, I would submit it does not rise to beyond a reasonable doubt of intent. And I'll get to that other issue in a minute. But if we look at the complaint, we don't even have to look at the mistake of law and mistake of fact, because it is, we look at the complaint. A couple of problems, I raised one on at the end of the state's case, but it does because 4 people, I think the testimony from Mr. Evans is 4 people, not 5, went into the store. But it does not set forth acting in concert with another. It does not set forth on a double jeopardy basis who that other person would be. Would it be Tyne? Would it be Gagliardi? Who would it be? So with respect to that, it's defective. But bigger than that, there is no mental state alleged in this complaint. There is no mental state that alleged, there's no mental state allegation with respect to the actus reus event. Did he knowingly, he's got to knowingly steal or attempt to steal or act in concert with a theft. There's no knowingly or purposely there. The purpose to deprive is an element of the theft complaint. And because there is no mental state alleged in the theft aspect of the complaint, nor the criminal liability act of the complaint, under State v. Sin Bandit at 143 New Hampshire 579, sets forth this complaint is defective. It does not set forth the mens rea for either the theft or the accomplice. In addition, it also alleges, in essence, it alleges 2 separate crimes. It alleges a theft complaint, and it alleges a criminal liability complaint. And under the multiplicity requirement under our state constitution, if they wanted to allege 2 separate complaints, they could have brought 2 separate complaints. Or the alternative under Jordan, they could have charged him as the principal, and he could have been found guilty of the lesser included offense of accomplice under Jordan. But they didn't. They charged this as accomplice, and they didn't set forth that issue. Also, as accomplice liability, they did not, the key words, with the purpose of promoting or facilitating the commission of the crime of, I guess, theft in this case. They didn't even set forth in the complaint that that was his purpose in the accomplice liability requirement, which is required. And again, no mens rea, that they have to set forth that's what his purpose was. And I'm sorry, I said Jordan. State v. Barton, because if he had been charged with as a principal, the court could then go on to consider a lesser included accomplice. But the river doesn't flow back. I would submit the complaint should be dismissed. Your Honor, not able to
The state would ask, would argue to the court that the evidence is sufficient to find the defendant guilty. The defense said, quote, intent to commit a crime was not present. Well, that's not the intent that needs to be present. It's purpose to deprive, which is needed. And I don't understand what he's saying about no mens rea because it's right in there. In fact, we had a conversation about it at the beginning of the hearing at the bench. It says with a purpose to deprive him thereof. That is the mens rea. The structure of the complaint satisfies case law. Case law is clear that for accomplice and or principal, which is what is alleged here, theft by unauthorized taking or transfer, paren, accomplice and or principal, end of paren, both statutes are cited, and it has the language in concert with another.
And that satisfies the case law, that phrase. I think the case law is clear on that. They certainly had a purpose to deprive the element of it. They were taken from Mr. Blackman. He doesn't have to have an intent to commit a crime. Taking it to the Concord PD was an afterthought. They realized this was going bad. They, at the beginning of it, didn't want to involve the police. Didn't intend to. It was self-help. Going to the Concord PD was an after fact, trying to clean up the mess. The state would argue that the complaint is sufficient on its face under the case law. It does have a mens rea. It does say accomplice and/or principal. It has in concert with another there. The evidence was clear as to who took it off the mannequin, Mr. Norton, and gave it to the defendant, which he admits, and the defendant took it out of the store. The state would argue that the evidence is sufficient, more than sufficient on the defendant.
If I wasn't clear, Your Honor, and the theft complaint, the purpose to deprive thereof, is an element of the offense. I am talking about the mens rea for the actual act as rape.
I understand.
Okay. And it's state the entities, it says very clear, and accomplice liability with combined with theft complaints or other complaints. They have to say purposely, or they have to say knowingly, with respect to the mens rea for the acting in concert with the criminal liability for another. It just fails to set forth either one of those elements.
I understand your position. There's one complaint before the court today. It alleges a Class B misdemeanor of theft by unauthorized taking. The elements of the offense of theft by unauthorized taking are that a person commits theft if he obtains or exercises unauthorized control of the property of another with a purpose to deprive him thereof. Statute says that purpose to deprive means to have the conscious object to withhold property permanently or for so extended a period, or to use under such circumstances that a substantial portion of its economic value or the use and benefit thereof will be lost. Now, each of the elements of the offense the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. I have heard testimony here from the state's witness and that was Sergeant Berry, that the accused in this case, when he was first questioned, said words to the effect of, Mr. Blackman had told them during the course of this encounter, just keep the vest and keep the patches and get out of my store. Not those exact words, but that's the gist of what was being said. We also have the statement that the accused gave to the Concord police at the time, in his own words and his own writing. That in essence says a similar variation of that version of how it went down. Mr. Blackman testified that that did not in fact happen. The court also has before it undisputed evidence that approximately an hour or less after this incident occurred, the accused arrived at the Concord police station. The second in a wave of two waves of the 4 bikes that were involved to discuss this matter with the Concord police and to turn in the vest. Going back to the elements of the offense and proof beyond a reasonable doubt of the elements of the offense. The state must prove the purpose to deprive, and is defined as to withhold property permanently of a so extended a period or to use under such circumstances that a substantial portion of its economic value or the use and benefit thereof would be lost. The testimony before the court is that this incident occurred because there was a vest on display inside and outside the store that the four people believed may have belonged to their organization. They went to the store, they went in the store, they inspected the vest. Based upon that inspection, they determined that it did in fact belong to their organization. Not the vest, but the colors on the vest. Obviously, a confrontation took place after that inspection. There's no question that the four individuals caused that vest with the colors on it to be removed from the store. That the accused was one of those four individuals. That the accused did in fact take it out of the store and transport it ultimately to the Concord PD by his own admission. The court is not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the purpose to deprive element of this offense has been met. Therefore, I'm going to enter a finding of not guilty. Thank you.
Put the camera back on, please. How the camera on?